Good afternoon and welcome to Moments with Melinda. I am your host, Melinda Moulton. And today I am so honored to have on my show Kara Greenblott. Kara, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Melinda. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you so much for being on my show and sharing with me your life and the great work that you're doing. But let's start by my sharing with my viewers who you are. Um, so Kara Greenblott is an artist who works in mixed Nat Geo Citrusolve and acrylic paint collage. She is also the CEO and founder of Nzinga International and CEO of CB Sachs. Kara is presently the director of the Howard Center's Arts Collective. Does that sound right?
Sure. Yeah. I'll correct director. I'm the coordinator. Um,
Coordinator.
yeah, and we have a wonderful organization that I work for about 24 hours a week. Zynga International was a consulting firm that I founded with my colleague Kate Greenaway, and it's no longer active. That was a while back. And CB Sachs is also, I've moved on from that as well. Both
Okay.
have been, yeah, part of my past.
But I'm going to want to talk to you a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. So let's start at the beginning and talk about your life growing up. I assume that you were born and raised in Vermont. Let's start with that.
Okay, that sounds great. I was born at Fletcher Allen, right up the street from where I live in the old North End of Burlington. And my dad always jokes with me that I've come back to my roots because my first 6 months of life, I was living on Archibald Street right here in Burlington in the old North End. And then we moved to Winooski, then we moved to South Burlington, and grew up going to the South Burlington school system. And yeah, so I'm back in the old hood,
Talk
where I
about
live
your
now,
parents.
right on North Winooski and North.
But
And my parents, my dad is from Burlington, my mom from New Britain, Connecticut, and she moved up here when they married and converted to Judaism so they could marry in the synagogue. So I grew up Jewish, and yeah, I'm a Vermonter to the core.
but they own the
Bard
Bard
Home Decorating Center.
Bard,
Yes.
and all of us remember the Bard Home Decorating Center. I'm sure many of the viewers on my show remember them and remember that incredible business that we all used.
Yes.
That-
Yeah. It was quite famous in the day, and my mom and dad can't really go anywhere without former customers stopping them in the street.
well, what a gift!
Um,
What a gift that business was, and that your parents were. They're so charming and beautiful. So,
mm.
so in talking about your childhood, Kara, who was your greatest inspiration for you to pursue the career really in the art industry that you've pursued? Talk to us about that. Who was your greatest inspiration?
Oh goodness. That's a hard one, Melinda. I think that, well, I've only been in the arts for the last 10 years or so. My education and training is in international development. I did my master's at the Columbia University School of International Public Affairs. And so I think the most of my younger years, into my 20s and even 30s, I was more interested in international relations, and I worked interestingly, I had a visitor last night. A good friend of mine from Columbia was in town from New York for the night. And we were talking old times and how we both ended up working overseas. And he asked me how many countries I had lived and worked in. And I said, I have no idea. I've never counted them. And he said, I have 33 under my belt. And I said, what? So this morning I laid in bed and I went from continent to continent and I went south to north and I counted 54 countries that I've lived, worked, or visited.
That's
So that was kind
incredible.
of my first career. And so who were my role models in that field? Goodness, I'm not even sure. I think it was, um, you know, I remember thinking a lot about Madeleine Albright and uh, other women like Margaret Mead, who had been working overseas and working either in politics or for the planet. And I don't think I had one person in mind, but I knew I wanted to work internationally. Um, and so nothing to do with the arts, really. And like I said, this is really new in my life that I've been focusing on the arts. I went to grad school in my late 20s, and then I went straight to Africa and ended up country hopping kind of every 3 years. I was posted in a different place.
And who
Most
posted you? Who posted you?
Well, I worked for a number of organizations. My first employer was Catholic Relief Services, CRS. A nice Jewish girl joined the Catholics and works in the diocese. Um, and they're really a very secular organization on the ground in the field. So I worked in public health. I ended up working, my first posting was, well, I had a finance background. So I was an internal auditor and went country to country every 3 months. So that was useful. I never thought I'd be applying my finance background, in the field that I ended up being in. And then I was posted in Angola. It was my first long-term posting in Luanda, the capital of Angola. And it was a country at war at the time. And I ended up kind of specializing in working in what we call transitional countries, countries coming out of war and, demilitarizing the army and working on the recovery aspects of a country that's been devastated by war. So we did everything from school feeding programs to getting clinics up and running. My specialization was food security at the time, so I worked mostly within the food aid realm, but later moved into public health, HIV prevention, TB, malaria, everything to do with public health. Um, and ended up after CRS, after Catholic Relief Services, working for UNICEF, World Food Program, a number of UN agencies, UNDP, UN Development Program, WHO, and then a lot of USAID funded projects. And we all know that many of those have gone away,
I've been cut. That must break
have been cut. Yeah.
every.
So many of my colleagues and friends have, lost their jobs. And more importantly, the programs and the people they were serving in developing countries no longer have access
It's
to many
absolutely horrific.
services. Yeah.
So do you miss that work?
I do. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. I think about it a lot. I loved my time in Africa. I was 12 years all over the continent. After Angola, I was in Sierra Leone and Liberia, Eritrea and Ethiopia. And then my last 3 years there were spent in South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. We had a program that was regional, doing food security and HIV prevention and treatment.
That is
And I
extraordinary.
loved it.
And I don't think people know that about. Do people know this about you?
Maybe not current friends, friends
Not
that I've met in
currently.
the last few years, but older friends,
Older
sure.
friends do know about it. Well,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. And God, you're such a superstar. So
Oh,
I know that these two organizations don't exist anymore, but I want you to talk about them because you were the CEO and founder of the Zynga
Zynga International. Yeah, yeah.
International Organization. So talk to us a little bit about that organization that you founded and that you direct.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So my last 3 years in Africa were spent based in Johannesburg, traveling in the region a lot. And we focused on HIV prevention, treatment, and then also the food security or nutrition elements of people living with HIV and AIDS. And in that time, my best friend and colleague, Kate Greenaway, she and I were both planning to leave and move back to the US at some point, and we decided we'd form a consulting firm and do a lot of consulting work for those same agencies we had been employed by for many years, which would allow us to be in the States more and also to kind of apply the realm of knowledge and experience that we'd had over the years to more organizations and more groups. And so she moved back to Canada. She's from BC. And we brought in another colleague friend for a short time, but it was essentially just myself and Kate. And we were kind of jettisoned off to different countries to run workshops, focus groups, do some research, training, um, all kinds of things that we had done in the past, but were hired, short-term contracts like 2 months, 3 months, that sort of thing.
Fascinating, fascinating work. So talk to us a little bit about another company of which you were the CEO, and I'm assuming probably maybe the founder of called
Uh-huh.
EB Sachs, Sacks LLC.
Uh-huh.
Talk to us about that.
Wow, you're bringing me way back. So yes, when I came back to the States, I wasn't sure what I would do in addition. I wanted to do something here in the community, more, in the domestic realm. So I was easing myself out of the international consulting world, and I walked into a coffee shop. It was Speeder and Earl's on Pine Street, saw a stack of coffee sacks that had these beautiful, colorful emblems, and the lettering from the country that the coffee beans had been shipped from. And I thought, oh my God, they're so beautiful. These burlap sacks. There's got to be, they're not throwing those out, are they? So I had this idea of starting a company where, and I'd never done anything like this, and it showed. But I had fun with it for the time. And we made purses, kind of tote bags, clutches, wine sacks, all different products from the coffee bean sacks. And I got them from, a wide variety, Green Mountain Coffee, like I said, Speeder and Earl's, Brave Coffee, all around town, all around Vermont. I was the coffee sack lady. I would show up, they would dump the sacks in the back of my car. I had a PT Cruiser I cruised around in, and then I had a whole bunch of sewers that I contracted to sew these bags. And they were beautiful leather handles, waxed canvas, interiors. And I sold them online and at the Stowe Foliage exhibit, the show up at Stowe every year, different venues. Lake Champlain Chocolate sold them out of their retail store on Pine Street because I also use cacao sacks, which also come in burlap. Cacao is the seed that chocolate comes from, so very similar pipe supply chain. And I had fun with it. It was great. I sold it to a local sewer who had been working for me making the sacks, and she continued it for a while, and I kind of lost track. I'm not even sure
Wow.
what ended up happening. But I did that for maybe 3 years and then decided to try my hand in the realm of mental health. So did some training and ended up where I am now, which is with the Howard Center here in
We're
Burlington.
going to get into that, but before we do,
Okay.
I want you, and that's fascinating. Do you have one of the bags? I mean, do you still have one of the bags of what?
My father pulled them out, a couple of them out of the garage the other day, and it was funny to see them. And I should say also, my dad was a big part of that. Having the business background from his years at Bard Home Decorating, he traveled around the region with me to these exhibitions in New Jersey and Stowe, in Connecticut, in Boston, and helped me
For
out with the
him.
business. Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah, it was fun.
So before we get to your present work, which is so important, I just want you to talk to us how you developed. Then you got into the arts, which if you're creating bags and all the work that you did, you had to be very creative, even your work when you were over in Africa. But talk to us
Hmm.
how you developed your artwork, known as the Nat Geo Citrusolve artwork, and
Yeah.
how did this technique come to be? Because, if people go on, I visited a site called Daily Paintworks, and
Oh, yes. Hmm.
and Kara Greenblott is there. And there are other locations if you Google Kara Greenblott where you can see your art, which I found captivating and quite beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, that technique, I took a class online. I think it was during COVID, as many of us did. I was, reaching for inspiration, and I discovered this technique, and I just fell in love with it immediately. So I ended up just diving in deep, and that's what I've been using for several years now. It's essentially, I take pages from National Geographic, and it has to be between the years 2000 and 2012. For whatever reason, the ink and the paper were very uniquely blended at that time. So National Geographic, during that period of time, I take the pages and I treat them with something called Citrusolve, and it's a cleaning fluid. People might know it from, cleaning their counters in their kitchen. Um, And it melts the ink. It literally melts and dilutes the ink, and it makes these amazing patterns, and you can play with it. And then I use those pages that I've kind of treated with Citrusolve to make collage. I'm happy to show some on screen if that's helpful, Belinda, because it's hard to get a sense from description. Do you want me to do that?
Well, I don't want to run out of time. I want to leave time
Okay,
for Howard. So what I want to
sure.
do is I want my viewers to go and Google your name, Kara Greenblott, okay? And I want them to Google your name and they can see your work. You do have your own website, but really the place where I saw most of your work was at Daily Paintworks. So
Yes.
that's fascinating that you're into that and you're still doing exhibitions, right? And stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's yeah, Kara Greenblatt Studio, art studio, I think is what will bring it up for you. And yeah, there's a wide variety on there. Many are sold, a few are not. I need to update the website. But yes, my work with the Howard Center also brings me very close to other artists, and I get to engage in my own art with those artists. And so I've even given some workshops on this technique here in Burlington, and
It's
happy to teach
fascinating.
anyone that asks me.
It's fascinating. So for my viewers, please go Google Kara Greenblott and look at her work. Now let's move into the Howard's Arts Collective Program. What is it and who does it serve?
Sure. So when I came to the Howard Center about 7 or 8 years ago, I heard about the Arts Collective. It was a group of volunteers that were staff who were working with clients who are also interested in the arts, and they were putting on a show or two a year and really enjoying that and meeting up for coffee. Um, and my good colleague Adam Forgeitz, he was kind of coordinating that and making sure things got done on a volunteer basis. And so I came in and I thought, oh, I want to show my art with them. And wow, this could be so much more than it is. We could have a studio, we just need money. So drawing on my experience in the international development world and having written a lot of grant proposals and managing a lot of grants, I thought about who in Vermont would fund something like this. Well, first of all, we went straight to the Howard Center leadership and we asked for some limited funding to pay for some salaries. So 3 part-time salaries at the time. And we have, over the last 7 years, grown that we still have three salaried staff, but we have a host of consultants that we pay to come in and do everything from murals with our participants to big public art projects. We're about to put a massive mural on the side of 102 South Winooski, overlooking the parking lot at City Market. So look for that this summer. And we have 2 studios in town with studio time. We have exhibitions at the Fleming Museum, which is kind of a high point for us. There's one up until the end of May. So if you go to the Fleming before May 17th, you'll see our exhibition on the balcony and in the marble courtyard. It's a fabulous group of artists. What to say? The main points I would want to, convey to someone is that everyone in the group, all of our artists that participate are impacted by mental illness and or substance use challenges. Some are staff, some are clients, some are community members with no relationship to the Howard Center, but all of us have felt that impact. Many have lived experience of mental illness and substance use challenges. Um, we're all artists, whether we're beginners or we're professionals. We help each other. We come on every week to a Zoom call, much like this, and we share our artwork. I facilitate the call and we share artwork on screen. We talk about it. We encourage each other. We, sometimes show our progress on a piece over time and talk about what that feels like. If someone's having a hard time, we might stop sharing art and talk about something else for a while.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the people that you serve because it's not just,
Sure.
you serve a certain group of folks in the community who are
Hmm.
art to heal and to grow and to create connections. Talk about the folks that you serve in this program.
Yeah, I mean, I really, it still feels new to me, Melinda. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I am just blown away by the power of art as a therapeutic medium, as a way to heal, as a way to express your voice. Because many people that work with us don't have a voice in the community. They're marginalized, they're vulnerable, they're isolated. Um, and making art and exhibiting their art in a place like the Fleming or other places that we exhibit are the Amy Tarrant Gallery, the Space Gallery, the Flynn Dog Gallery.
You exhibited down at Union Station, but
Uh-huh,
the people who are involved in this program are people who have had, who have had addiction issues and things like that.
absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, people who have probably been part of the Howard family and then have moved into this program to help them with their healing and their
Yeah.
forgiveness, right?
And and also
And,
one of our
and neurodiverse people as well, right?
absolutely. Yes, we're definitely inclusive. And I would say that we partner with the Pathways Community Center, which is also right in the Old North End. Our studio, our second studio, is right above the community center, the drop-in center there. So we have this wonderful relationship with Pathways, whereby folks that come in there for support and one-on-one peer support, they can head upstairs, make some art with us. And we have some wonderful folks that had no idea in some cases how talented they were, right? We had this one guy, he's and it's not uncommon for people to come off the street who live or houseless and live with their entire, life's belongings in a backpack on their back, and they'll come in, put everything aside and grab some. We have this one guy, he's wonderful. I won't mention names, but he's a charcoal artist and picked up a piece of charcoal on his first day in the studio and just went nuts drawing scenery. And I walked over and I was blown away, and our studio manager was blown away. And we started framing his work, and he actually had a feature artist show um, at the Flynn Dog Gallery not too long ago. He said no one has ever supported and encouraged his artistic journey the way we have. And he's sold, I think, 4 or 5 pieces by now. He's just so talented.
Do you ever do an
Um,
online auction of the art so people
we
like
never
me
have.
could go on and buy their artwork? Well, that might be something you want to think about.
Hmm.
So there's also a community call on Zoom every Thursday, which you did today. So
Yep.
1 p.m. Now, can anybody join the collective, or is there an application to fill out? It's for my viewers out there.
Yep.
How do they get?
No, no application at all. We welcome anyone who feels the impact of mental illness and or substance use challenges. It could be a family member. It can be, if you're a caregiver to someone who has lived experience, or the person themselves. So we have a real mix of
So
folks
how
on
do
the call.
so how do my viewers get involved? I mean, if like from now they say, "Oh, I want to get involved in this," how do they do that?
Yep, they could write directly to me. They can write me at karag@howardcenter.org. It's very straightforward, howardcenter.org.
There's also the Arts Collective at
They could also,
howardcenter.org.
absolutely, Arts Collective at howardcenter.org. And then I would put them on my mailing list, and they would get an email from Lydia, our studio manager, once a week, and one from me once a week. And those are just about our activities.
Well,
And
I'd
then
love to.
Sarah Jane. In some cases, our outreach coordinator could get in touch with them if they need a little extra help to come to our studio, or they just need some extra support. She can also reach out to
Well,
them. Sarah Jane and Lydia are amazing. Our
I
team
would
is
love to
just
get put on that
wonderful.
list. I'd love to get,
Yes, of course.
because I want my viewers to know. I want to let them know that I am going to be going on your advisory council for the
Yes, I was just about to
program.
say that.
I'm very
Yep.
excited about that. Um, so you also do field trips. I understand.
Yeah, yeah. We were doing those very regularly pre-COVID. We stopped during COVID, and now we're just kind of getting our feet wet again with making trips. We have a van that belongs to Howard Center. And we do trips to, I think we have one coming up to the new mental health urgent care center at the hospital, where the Arts Collective has 60 to 70 paintings up on the wall. Yeah, it's a massive exhibition that we put together, and Sarah Jane just finished getting all the labels up last week. So that's something for anyone who wants to know more about us or the mental health urgent care. You can just go over to uh, right on the UVM main, not the main campus, but the UHC, where UHC is.
University Health Center.
Yeah.
I understand that one of your notable artists is Larry Bissonette,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
and he was acknowledged by the governor as as a state artist.
Yep.
Yeah,
Larry's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Such a
He
gifted
came to us
man.
for the first time for our Fleming Museum show this year called Let the Fabric Speak. And I'll also say when you go to our website, if you go to our website, which is at, if you just Google Howard Center Arts Collective, there are two videos on there about our artists. And I encourage everyone to check them out. Larry's on there talking about his piece that's at the Fleming, and many other artists, I think six or seven in the last video, talking
That's
about their artwork.
outstanding. So look
Yeah.
at to my viewers who want to get involved or sign up to be part of this collective. Uh, Go to Arts Collective at
Dot
howardcenter.org.
org.
So, Kara, I wanted to ask you about the power of art to create positive change in the world. Talk to us a little bit about
Mm,
as you are an international, person. Your whole career has been in international work. So, how does the power of art create positive change in the world?
that's a great question. Um, I mean, I see it both on an individual level, but also more, community or systemic level. On an individual level, I see folks who come to us and make art with us as a way of relaxing, healing, feeling more at ease, feeling like they can channel their thoughts and their voice into something visual when it might be really hard to articulate them using verbally or using their voice. Visually sometimes feels safer, it feels more comfortable. Um, so I see it, as potentially changing the world one artist or one person at a time. But also at a community level, we really believe that the Arts Collective is more than just art for art therapy. It's about being part of or belonging to a community of like-minded folks that love the creative journey. And for many of our members, life is really isolated, and it's a struggle, some of our folks, like I said, live down by the waterfront on the street. Others live independently but are extremely isolated from the world. Some live in group homes, some take care of themselves and have apartments, but all of them seek community, including myself. I love being part of community. I can't imagine not being part of the communities that I belong to. It saves me every day. Who wants to be all by themselves all the time? So people come in our calls, they come to the studio because they feel part of, they feel like they belong. And you see friendships made every day. And to me, the art's great, the art's important, the art is healing, it's therapeutic, but the community to me is where the magic is.
That's
That's
magnificent.
me.
So, as we come to the end of the show, Kara, what are your words of wisdom for today's youth on how to navigate through the challenges of what they're facing?
Wow. Well, I will say that we're focused on adults, so 18 and over, and we have young people in the group, and we have older folks as well. Um,
But beyond your,
yeah.
just as Kara Greenblott,
Oh, more generally
talking to the youth
speaking,
of our world,
yeah.
what are your,
Yep.
using your wisdom in international
Yeah.
service and what you're doing right now with Howard, what words of wisdom would you give to our young people who are really going to be the ones that inherit this world? What are your words to
Yeah. Yeah.
help them navigate through the
Um,
challenge?
I mean, I've learned, I think, the hard way, that self-care is the most important thing for me, and for many people in my life. So, to some extent, I'm a giver. I want to help everyone, but I've learned that I have to come first. I need to take care of myself, whether I'm 20 or I'm 59, which I am right now. Um, so really good focus on healthcare, on self-care. And I wish I hadn't spent so much time in my youth double second guessing and questioning the things that brought me joy. I truly believe that if something feeds you, nourishes you, makes you feel joyful and happy, follow the path. Whether, and it's hard to say this, I know that, but whether you see the financial gain right away or not, follow the path of your heart and we all feel that feeling when something's joyful for us, and that's what art does for me as well. So yeah, taking really good care of my body and my mind and my spiritual self, but also just following the path of what brings me joy.
Thank you for that. Kara Greenblott, for the remarkable work that you are doing on behalf of so many in our community. It's been an honor to speak with you today. Thank you
Hmm.
so much for being on my show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Melinda. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. And to my viewers, thank you for being with us today, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.